Hello, glad you're here. My name is David Krug, and I'm a full-time instructor of accounting here at JCCC. And if you are watching this program, then you are enrolled in my Accounting 1 class. You can think of it as a telecourse, as it's traditionally been thought of, because students mainly used to watch it on TV, but now it's more and more being thought of as a media class or an online class, because most of my students watch this online on YouTube. But what I want to do today, there's no students here, if you see. Normally there will be students here. But I wanted to have a separate class where I just talk with you, the person who's taking it at home, about the class policies and procedures. Now, the students who you'll see in Lecture 2 and beyond, their policies and procedures are slightly different than for you. And so I don't want to confuse them, I don't want to confuse you. So I kind of do the syllabus and the class policies sessions separately from each other. So, if you're watching this and you're just thinking, I can just skip this and go to the next lecture, please don't. You're going to need to watch this entire lecture on class policies to succeed in the class. And if people email me, ask me questions, and I can tell they haven't watched it, I'm going to say, you need to go back and watch that lecture number 1. Because I'm going to go through the questions that I get every semester about this. So please watch this entire lecture. Okay? But I will assume you are enrolled, and I will email you or have on Angel your exact syllabus. But we're going to kind of walk through the syllabus. In a little way, it's going to be a little generic, because I'm going to use this lecture for 6 different semesters in the future when I teach this class. So I'm not going to have test deadlines and dates and stuff, because that changes every semester. But the syllabus that you have will have those dates on them. Okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at kind of what your syllabus is going to look like. There you see my name and my phone number. This is called a telecourse up here. However, again, this is more and more being thought of as a media course or an online course. So don't be thrown if it wasn't listed in the class schedule as a telecourse when you enrolled. One of the main things I want you to know is I want you to email me through the Angel website, okay? And I'll show you how to get on that and how to do that. Most of you are pretty adept at Angel. But I don't list my email address because I really prefer that all our communications be through the Angel shell, okay? Now, my office hours. Even though you're taking this as a telecourse or an online course, I'm still here on campus to help you. If you want to come, I'll email each semester specifically what my office hours are. And of course, you can contact me through the Angel shell and email me. But I'm here to help you. You're not on your own, okay? Just contact me and we'll set up a time. Okay, let me talk to you about the textbook and the materials that you're going to need for this course, okay? And come off the screen if you can show me a little for a few minutes. The textbook you're going to use is called Fundamentals of Accounting Principles, and it's the 20th edition. It's by McGraw Hill publisher, and it's by Wild, Shaw, and Chiapetta, okay? So that is the book that you need. You definitely need this textbook. Now, this textbook has kind of 2 different covers. If you are in JCCC or in the local area and you buy it through our bookstore, it's going to look like this. The front cover is going to look like this. However, it also may have this as a cover. You can see I scrolled my name on it, okay? So, the main thing you want to make sure of is that it's called Fundamentals of Accounting Principles by Wild, Shaw, and Chiapetta, and that it is the 20th edition, okay? But you definitely need this textbook, whether you're here face-to-face or you're at home. The other thing that we highly encourage you to buy are what is called the work papers. And it looks a little bit like this if you buy them through the JCCC bookstore. Okay? Those will help you tremendously in the first 5 chapters by kind of giving you templates on which you can do your homework. One other thing, and we'll talk about this here in a few minutes, but if you look at your textbook and you open the first page, there is something that looks like this. There's 2 types of homework in this class. There is the homework, the traditional homework that I assign at the end of the class period, and that you will do using your textbook using your work papers, using an old-fashioned pencil and paper. But there's also Connect homework right here, Connect homework. And I will have an access code that's right here in your book. You scratch that off with a coin. And this is a separate type of homework. This is called the Connect homework. And for those of you taking this as a telecourse or an online course, there is points awarded for this. So we'll talk about that. But there's really two types of homework. Going back to the screen. Let's take a look back there again. And that's what I say here. I talk about the Connect homework right there. All right. For this Accounting 1 telecourse, I'm going to be emailing you the information. Or more than likely, it's going to be on the Angel website by clicking on the Lessons tab. And I am going to show you how to do that. And actually, let's just go to that right now. Let's go to the web. If you go to the jccc.edu webpage, you're going to log in to Angel. Now, you should know how to do this, but if you don't, call the JCC helpline. And that number is 913-469-8500-4357. Okay? But log into Angel, as I'm doing now. I don't want to do autocomplete. And it'll take you to a page like this. Go to the appropriate semester. Now, this is fall of 2011, but of course, that may not be the semester for which you're taking this course. But find this course, okay? And you're going to get a screen that looks kind of like this, okay? It's going to say Accounting 1, the right section, the right CRN number. Here is where you access this course syllabus. If you go to the Lessons tab, that is primarily where you are going to find all of your information that you need for this course. Let's walk through this a little bit and say what each one of these are. Number 1, this says, David, click here to see your course grade to date. Well, I'm the instructor. It doesn't know that. But for you, it'll say your name. That is how you get your grades for the tests. You click that link, and it'll walk you through getting that report so you can see how you performed on the test, how you're performing in the course. Next is all handouts you will need for this telecourse. Now, I also have, if you jump down here a little bit at the very last, I have handouts distributed in this class. And for each chapter, 1 through 11, and we do not go through chapter 7 in this course, if you go there, it will have content there that you'll need for the lectures in regards to that chapter. Now, for those of you taking this in fall of 2011, you can't take advantage of what I'm going to show you here. But for those taking it spring of 2011 or spring of 2012 and after, going back to the screen, if you don't want to go into each chapter and pull out the handouts you'll need, you can click on here, and this will have all the handouts for the entire class. It's probably going to be about 40 plus pages. Okay? So if you're taking this as spring of 2012, you can get all your handouts by going here. For fall of 2011, you're going to have to go to each chapter. Okay? And that's because I'm kind of creating these as I go along. So sorry about that, fall of 2011, folks. What else is on here? The checklist for telecourse lectures. Now, if you click that, you're going to get something that looks kind of like this, and I'm going to show it to you on the Elmo. It's going to look somewhat like this. Now, it's not going to look exactly like this, but it is going to have each program or lecture and what it's about, and this is a nice checklist so that as you watch these, you can check them off. Once you watch them, you check them off so you can keep track of which ones you've watched and which ones you haven't. Okay? So, going back to the screen, if you go to this little item here, that's the checklist that you'll need. The next thing is info on the McGraw Hill Connect online homework tool. Now that's what I was talking about as far as the separate homework. If I go to that, what you're going to see, and I'll open that up. Now this will look again a little different for your specific semester, but this is kind of a generic version of it. All right? Let's take a look. Let me blow that up so you can see it a little bit better. This is going to walk you through how to get on McGraw Hill's Connect website. Now this is for points in your class, so you want to make sure you do this. Okay? And I'm not going to walk through all the specifics. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The main things that you'll want is right here in this big section is going to be the specific URL for your class. Now I X'd it out because it's going to be different for each semester. But you'll want to copy that URL, paste it into your URL spot on Microsoft Explorer, go to that website, and then bookmark it so you don't have to type that in anymore. Okay? And then it will walk you through how to register for that. All right? If you don't own it, it'll even tell you how to buy it online. Okay? So coming back to me, this is the access code or the registration code that you'll need. But if for some reason this is not available to you, or maybe you bought a used book and this is scratched off and you know that access code is no longer valid, then you can either specifically buy Connect from the JCCC bookstore for your use, or going back to the screen again, it will walk you through how to purchase it online. But you do need to have this for this course. All right? So that's the main thing you need is this URL and that access or registration code. If you have problems with this, here's who you contact. There's an 800 number or there's a website. Okay? I really try to limit how many of these questions that I'm going to field. So please contact them, not me. If you contact me, chances are what I'm going to tell you is I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why you're having problems, but you need to contact this number. So I'm just going to send you back to this number because they can much better help you than how I can help you. Okay? And the last thing you'll see on this second page of this document is when these assignments are due for each chapter. Now, I have chapter 1 due by 11:45 p.m. on blank. I did not put a date there because, again, it depends on what semester you're taking this course. However, when you're enrolled and when you go to Angel, it will have the appropriate dates for you in this section. All right? Again, we don't do chapter 7, but this will be the schedule of when your Connect homework assignments are due. All right? Now let's go back to the Lessons tab on Angel. We talked about that. This is general class information. I usually have the syllabus in there as well. Here are the PowerPoint presentations. Okay? Now I only have the first 4 in here right now, but here in a week or so I'm going to have all 11 chapters except for chapter 7, which we don't cover. Coming back to me live here, what these PowerPoints are, I'm going to show you in a sample on the Elmo. This is simply a way that you can print out what I'm going to lecture on, and I like to do it 3 to a page so that you have this section to take notes. But I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go on the Lessons tab to that PowerPoints tab and print these off. It's going to be much easier for you as you take this course to not have to copy what's on the screen, or maybe the screen you're watching it on is kind of little. Okay? So, going back to this, that is where you get these PowerPoints. Okay? On the PowerPoints tab, you can just go get each one. The final thing I want to show you, or the second to last final thing, is the practice test and answers. If you click on that, I have practice test and answers for each section. This is very helpful for you to know the kind of test that you'll probably be taking. and it'll give you a great way of kind of practicing extra problems, kind of testing yourself for some of the multiple choice. When people say, what are your tests like, Dave? I say, go take a look at the practice tests. Those are actual test questions that I used in the past, okay? The last thing on this Lessons tab is the handouts distributed in class. And if you don't, or you're not able just to get them all at once from up here, then you just go here and click each chapter, okay? And those will be populated with content as we move throughout this course. So that is extremely important. That is the materials that you need for this course. All right? Let's go back to the syllabus. I'll let you read through the course objectives, and I'll let you read through the overview. But let's talk a little bit about this, okay? So coming off the screen, accounting is a building block course. Some of you have taken it in high school, some of you have taken it in college, maybe you didn't do so well, and so you're back for another try. It builds on itself. If you don't understand Chapter 1, Chapter 2 is going to be nearly impossible. And if you flunk the first test over Chapters 1 and 2, Chapters 3 and 4 are going to be a lot more difficult. This class builds on itself. You have to do a little bit every day. It's kind of like getting a suntan for the summer. Don't get your suntan in one 8-hour session. What you need to do is get a little bit every day. Now, for you who are taking this as an online course or a telecourse, you have to be disciplined. I am not going to be there. I don't know what you look like. I'm not going to come to your apartment or home and make sure you're watching these lectures and make sure you're doing the homework. You can throw it on the floor behind the couch and nobody's going to be there to nag you. But if you put it all off and then it comes time to take the test, you're not going to do well, okay? It's a strange phenomenon here in this class. There's a lot of A's and high B's in this course, but there's also a lot of F's. And when I say an F, I don't mean just like a 58%. I'm meaning that there's people who take this course online or telecourse and they get like a 28% on the test. And I know why. They did not have the discipline to watch the lectures. They did not have the discipline to do the homework I was asking them to do. They just completely blew it off because there was no one there to nag them. You've got to be disciplined, folks. You've got to be disciplined. This can be a great way for you to learn accounting, but you've got to be disciplined. Hey, you're paid for this course. You might as well do well in it, okay? Going back, I want you to do your homework before you watch the lecture. Now, this is not the Connect homework, but the regular homework. When I give these students their homework assignment at the end of each class, do that homework, make your best efforts before you watch the next lecture and before we go over the answers. You learn accounting by doing it yourself, not by watching me do it. If you make mistakes, that's great, that's fine, that's expected, that's how you learn, but you have to do the homework. How are we going to communicate going to the syllabus? Well, I'm here to help you. I want you to communicate with me. You have a JCCC email account, and I access that actually not through my JCCC, but through Angel, okay? So we're going to communicate to each other through email, mainly through the Angel shell, okay? So please don't access me through email outside of that Angel shell. Let's remain in the Angel shell, and all your communications will be kept there together. Should we need to go back and look at it, or should I, if I need to find out what previous question you're referring to or whatever. So the way you email me, let's go to that Angel shell again. If you're on this course, you can just send me a quick message right there. This is how you email me, okay? Send me a quick message, choose my name, and go ahead and send away. And this is your inbox for this course. So when I reply back, this is where you'll check it. But I want all of our email communications to originate from this little box right here. Okay? When you email me, you might mention that you're obviously tell me who you are, tell me what course it is, and that sort of thing, even though it might be apparent through the Angel information. But go ahead and Tell me who you are so I kind of know where you're coming from. And I will email you back. If I do not email you back, I want you to assume I didn't get the communication. Okay? Every now and then I have a student says, I emailed you, did you get it? And I say no. Now what I say is, if I don't email you back, assume I did not get the communication. I'll always email you back within 24 hours. If I don't, shoot me an email. It must not have gone through, or I forgot or something. Okay? But I'll always email you back so that there's no vagueness on whether or not I got your communication. Okay? All right, back to the syllabus. How do I view this telecourse? Well, you can choose to view these online, and that is what most students do. Most students, even though this is called a telecourse, and it recalls the days of people watching them on the cable channel that JCCC has, most people watch them via YouTube, okay? Or they can check out the DVDs from the library. Now, how do you get to those videos? Well, let me show you here. Let's go here. Let's open up a new tab and go to the JCCC website. Now you can click on the URL that was posted in the syllabus, or what you can do, this is the jccc.website. You can go to YouTube, and then you click on YouTube again, and it takes you to the college YouTube channel. Then in this search box right here, just put accounting. Hit search, and all those lectures are there. There's about 37 to 39 of them. I'm not sure how many we're going to be having this semester, but they're all there. That is how the vast majority of students watch this. The good thing about watching it that way, you can watch it according to your schedule. You're not a slave to whenever the cable channel decides to run it. Okay? Now, if you don't have internet access or you don't like to watch it online, you can check out the DVDs from the library. Okay? But that is how you view these. All right? Going back to the syllabus. And there's the URL if you want to just click on that to get to them. How many do you need to watch? Well, if you're taking this in a spring or fall semester, you need to average about 3 or 4 a week. Okay? You're probably okay with 3, but just to be safe, you might want to say every 7 days I need to have watched 4 of these lectures. If you're taking this in a summer semester, you need to watch 5 lectures per week because there's only 8 weeks in the summer. Okay? So I think you're good with 3 to 4 for spring and fall, and for summer you need to watch 5 a week. Now, if you're ever watching a lecture and the audio and the video get off track and I look like a Japanese Godzilla movie or something, please email me and tell me exactly the lecture number for which that occurred, and we'll get that straightened out. Okay? What should you have while you're watching your lecture? You should have your textbook, a calculator, your completed homework, and you want to certainly paper to take notes on. You really need to have the exact same thing that you would have if you were taking one of my face-to-face courses. Okay? Tests or exams. We have 4 exams in this class that are worth 100 points each. And there's also on top of that a comprehensive final that's worth 100 points. Now you are allowed to drop your lowest test score of the first 4 tests. Now you can't drop or not take your final. You got to take that and it's going to count. But of the first 4 exams, you get to drop your lowest score. It's not replaced with anything, it's just dropped as if you would have never taken it. And that's a real nice thing, because every now and then there's a test that you just don't do real well on, and it's a nice way to act as if that never happened. Going back to this, you take the tests in the JCC Campus Testing Center. That is the 3rd floor of the Student Center. Now you can call them, and there's their phone number for their specific hours, or you can go to the JCCC website and in the search box put Testing Center hours, and you can get their specific hours. But you need to be aware of the dates they're open and the times they're open. I'm not telling you this because sometimes it changes, okay? depending on what semester you're taking this class. But I highly encourage you, before you go in there to take your exam, to call them and make sure they're open. See when they close that day. All right? When you go, you need to have your JCCC ID. Okay? So bring that with you. And they'll give you other guidelines as far as taking that exam. Now, every semester, I have students who wait to the very last day to take the exam, and then they go and they say, it's closed, I can't take the exam, what do I do? Okay, now please don't do this. I give you like a 7-day window at least for you to take that exam. Pick any day in there, what day works good for you, and take the exam. But I always have a few students who procrastinate to the very last day, and then something happens and they can't take the test that day. It was closed, or whatever, I had to work, or my baby got sick, or whatever. You guys have to be disciplined. Don't procrastinate. If you procrastinate to the very last day, then you've got no margin for error. Okay? Now, going back to the screen, on your syllabus that you have for you specifically, I have the dates that you need to take these tests by. All right? And I say test 1, chapter 1 and 2 must be taken by the end of the day on whatever. Obviously, I didn't put in dates because it's going to change for each semester. But these need to be dates you're aware of. Now, you don't have to take it on that day. I have them in there at least 7 days before. Okay? But you have to take it by the end of the day. Okay, so you need to be aware of when the test center is closing, their hours, their schedule, everything. Going back, for each day past the deadline stated above that you take your test, if you miss the deadline and you take it the next day, you're going to have 15 extra points deducted from your score. If it's 2 days past the deadline, it's going to be 30 extra points deducted from your score. So I don't need to tell you that if you're 3 days late, you might as well not even take the test. Okay? And there's no exceptions on this. It may be a very legitimate reason. But again, I have students, by the nature of this course, who procrastinate every semester. They wait till the very last day, and then they come beg me for more time. Please. No. You've got a whole week to work there. You need to be responsible as far as finding a time that you can take it. It's not fair to give some students a bunch of extra time to study for an exam. Okay? So that may be the most important thing from this whole syllabus, the dates that you have to take these tests by. This is not a self-paced course where you can just take the tests whenever you want to. There are deadlines for which you need to take that test by. Can't be any more clear than that, hopefully. How is the points breakdown on this class? Well, let's take a look at that. Well, you get 100 points for each test that you take. You will drop the lowest one of the first 4 tests. You also have 100 points from the Connect homework assignments that I will assign you, and we went over that on that tab, on the Lessons tab on Angel. So that is worth 100 points, and I can tell who's doing that and who's not doing that. That's one of the main reasons I have this as part of the class, is even before the tests I can see who's done their Chapter 1 assignment on Angel, who's done their Chapter 2. Okay? So the Connect is worth 100 points, and then going back to the screen, the Comprehensive Final is worth 100 points. So since you drop one of these tests, the whole class is worth 500 points. Here's the grading scale. People say, how do I find out how I did on the test? You look on Angel. Your test grade will be posted on Angel. And I think I showed you on the Lessons tab, the very first thing that you click, and that gives you your grade. And you have to understand too, it's going to take me a little while to grade your tests. If you take it real early before the deadline, I don't go over to the testing center until the next day after the deadline, and then I grade them. Okay? So I will get them graded for you, but if you take it a week and a half early, I don't go every day and go pick up the tests to grade them. Okay? Unless it's a special, unique situation. All right? Back to the syllabus, students with disabilities. If you have a disability and you need accommodations or access at all, please contact our Student Access Center. There's their contact information on your syllabus. And I want to be of whatever help I can. Just communicate with me. One other thing I want to note, JCCC offers free tutoring for accounting. This is for all students. Now, they usually offer this about 5 or 6 days a week here on campus. I'm not telling you right now what the specific hours and location are because it changes every semester. But on your syllabus or in a separate email, I will give you those free accounting tutoring times and dates and location. You don't have to make an appointment. You can come and go as you want. You don't pay anything. They're just people who can help you do your homework, even if you're taking this as an online or telecourse. All right, required stuff on my syllabus. I won't read through all this. I'll sum this up. Please don't cheat on your exam, okay? Even in the testing center, I know they have cameras everywhere. And my goodness sakes, they're very strict up there. So I think that should answer most of your questions in regards to this class as far as policies and procedures. Just to summarize a couple of things, I want to make sure I reiterate these points. Let me look at my notes a little bit to see if there's anything else I forgot. I think I've gone through just about everything I wanted to. But the main thing you need to know the deadlines, the dates for which you need to take your test by. And you need to know that you take it in the JCC Testing Center. Now, there may be a few people every now and then who take this class who live out of state or even out of country. Contact me with a separate email and we can arrange a way for you to take a test. Sometimes you end up taking it at a testing center of a different college or at a different university. Or for some of my military personnel, you take it on a military base and you have a proctor or something like that. So it is possible in these days of email and all that to take this class and have it be a great vehicle for learning accounting, even though you don't live in the greater Kansas City area where JCCC is located, okay? The next thing I want to reiterate, you've got to be disciplined with this class. You've got to watch these lectures 3 or 4 a week for spring and fall, or 5 for summer. And when I give you the homework assignment and give these fine people their homework assignment, that's not Connect, that's the regular homework. You need to do it before you watch the next lecture, because of the next lecture, we'll go over it, okay? Be aware, aside from the regular homework, be aware of that Connect homework assignment. That is online. We do not go over the Connect homework in class, okay? It's usually very similar homework that we've done for regular homework, except it's different numbers. So it's just a little different way, a little extra practice for you. And you can use your book, you can use past homework that you've done, you can use whatever you want when you're doing that, and it is worth points. But it'll give you feedback too, which I think will be very helpful for you. Students have really enjoyed that. But please be disciplined in this class. I think this should have answered most of your questions as far as class policies and procedures. If not, through Angel, email me. And there'll be other things that we talk about throughout the semester. As I think of them or as students here ask questions. But this should cover most of it. This was lecture number 1. Next time you watch lecture number 2, there'll be nice, shiny faces here of real people, and it'll feel like a real class, okay? And then we'll start going through the content of accounting. There's no real homework before you watch that lecture number 2. The only thing you might want to do is get onto that Connect, the website for Connect, and register for that, even though there may or may not be an assignment out there for you. But that's all you need to do, and I hope to see you in lecture number 2. Thank you for watching this whole program. Bye-bye. Thanks.